The sky above Dvar 9 burned with the orange hue of distant fires, a reflection of the chaos that had swept the planet. The once thriving human outpost was now a graveyard of twisted steel and shattered helmets. In the silence that followed orbital bombardment, a single sound remained constant, the faint mechanical rhythm of a rifle bolt sliding into place. Sergeant Cole Mercer crouched behind the remnants of a collapsed watchtower, his body motionless except for the steady rise and fall of his chest. Dust clung to the matte finish of his armor, and the cracked visor of his helmet reflected the faint shimmer of alien banners fluttering in the wind. He had been here for 12 days, long enough to know the rhythm of the enemy patrols, long enough to understand their arrogance. Through the half-broken lens of his Barrett rifle, he watched the alien camp sprawl across the plain like a living wound. Thousands of Zerlock soldiers marched in formation, their armor pulsing with eerie blue light. At the center stood the command pavilion, a metallic fortress encased in shield generators that shimmered like liquid glass. Inside it, 3 alien generals reviewed their conquest with the satisfaction of creatures who believed they had finally buried humanity's last offenders. Cole adjusted the zoom, focusing on the largest of them, a hulking reptilian with scales that caught the sunlight like obsidian. General Vrax. The creature's voice echoed through open frequencies, his words dripping with contempt. The human infestation has been cleansed, he declared. Their weapons are relics, their courage fiction. The soldiers around him hissed in agreement. Cole could hear the laughter through his headset, a static-filled chorus of mockery. From the shadow of a collapsed wall, a second human voice whispered. "They're enjoying the victory speech," said Corporal Diaz, Cole's spotter. His tone carried both fatigue and bitterness. "They really think we're extinct." Cole's reply came quietly, almost casual. "Then we'll ruin their day." Diaz peeked through his binoculars. "You planning to take a shot at General? You know those shields bounce plasma bolts like nothing." Cole didn't answer. He reached for a small metal case at his side and flipped it open. Inside, nestled in foam padding, lay a set of ammunition that gleamed faintly even in the dim light. .50 BMG titanium core rounds. Human engineering, at its most stubborn and brutal. These weren't designed for alien tech. They were designed for certainty. When they hit, they ended things. "Their shields stop energy," Cole said, loading the first round into the chamber with deliberate precision. "Not physics." Diaz chuckled under his breath, the sound quickly swallowed by the hum of distant alien engines. "You're a damn ghost, Sarge. The kind they tell stories about." "Ghosts don't miss," Cole muttered. He settled the rifle on a broken beam, aligning the crosshairs with the alien pavilion. The distance was obscene, over 2 kilometers, but that didn't matter. He had made longer shots before Earth fell. His finger hovered near the trigger as he adjusted for wind and planetary gravity. The faint scent of ozone and burnt metal hung in the air, remnant of a war that had ended too soon for humanity and too late for peace. Through the scope, he watched the generals again. They stood beside a pile of captured weapons, human rifles, sidearms, and helmets. General Vrax picked one up, turning the steel in his claws. He barked a laugh and threw it to the ground. "See this?" he roared his troops. They fought with sticks and fire. They thought they could defy the Dominion with this filth. Another general, smaller but just as cruel, lifted a human flag torn in half and spat acid on it. "Let it rot," he hissed. Cole's jaw tightened. His heart rate didn't change. It never did before a shot. But something colder filled his chest. Rage, steady and disciplined, the kind that sharpened focus instead of blinding it. He adjusted the elevation slightly and whispered, "Mock all you want." Diaz shifted beside him. "Wind's picking up. You're not seriously." "I am," Cole interrupted, tone flat. He checked the distance once more. "This isn't just a shot. It's a message." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The wind cut across the ruins, carrying with the distant echoes of alien laughter. Somewhere, a plasma engine roared to life. Cole exhaled slowly, steadying his rifle. Every muscle in his body was relaxed, every breath measured. He could almost hear the cadence of his instructor's voice back at Fort Bragg years ago. "Slow is smooth, smooth is fast." Diaz broke the silence again, his voice quieter this time. "You know they'll trace the shot. We won't get another chance. Cole's lips curved into the faintest smile. Then I better make this one count. He pressed his cheek against the stock, aligning the reticle over Vrax's chest. The alien stood proudly before his troops, basking in his own superiority. Around him, banners of the Dominion rippled in the smoke-stained air. Cole's finger brushed the trigger lightly. The rifle felt like an extension of his will, a promise carved in steel and gunpowder. Then the comlink crackled with another alien broadcast. "Attention, remaining human pests," said a voice thick with mockery. "Your surrender is overdue. Step into the open and die with what little honor your species possesses." Cole almost laughed. "They're asking for volunteers." "Guess you're signing up," Diaz replied dryly. Cole's scope drifted to a captured human soldier kneeling near the alien pavilion. The prisoner was trembling, blindfolded, surrounded by guards. One of the generals raised a weapon, aiming lazily at the man's head. The execution was meant for spectacle. The broadcast camera hovered above, feeding the feed across multiple channels. A show for the galaxy. "Not on my watch," Cole whispered. The world around him seemed to slow. The wind, the hum of engines, even Diaz's quiet breathing, all of it faded into the background. Only the target remained. The rifle stock kicked gently into his shoulder as his finger tightened. The shot never made a sound in his mind. Only the aftershock existed, a pulse that rolled through the ruins like thunder. The round left the barrel at nearly a kilometer per second, cutting through air, dust, and distance. In the alien camp, a shimmer of blue light, Vrax's shield, flared and shattered like glass. A heartbeat later, the general's head erupted in a spray of green vapor. His massive body collapsed backward, the weight of disbelief freezing every alien in sight. Cole stayed still. The recoil faded. The silence afterward was heavier than any explosion. Diaz exhaled first. "Holy!" Cole chambered another round with mechanical precision. "They'll think it was luck," he said. The alien ranks erupted into chaos, shouting orders, scanning the horizon, their arrogance dissolving into panic. Plasma bolts fired wildly into the ruins, lighting up the night. Cole didn't move. Through his scope, he watched them scramble, searching for a ghost. "Let them look," he said quietly, eyes cold behind the visor. "The show's just starting." And with that, he adjusted his scope again, ready for the next name on his list. The war wasn't over. Not while one human could still pull a trigger. The first alien general had fallen, and the shockwave of disbelief rippled through the ranks like an electric storm. Plasma fire poured wildly into the ruins where Cole and Diaz hid, cutting through walls and tearing up the earth. Each blast illuminated the shattered outposts in flashes of blue and white, revealing only dust and silence in return. Cole waited, unmoving, eyes fixed through his scope as alien soldiers scrambled across the field. His breathing never changed, but a faint spark of grim satisfaction burned behind his calm. For once, the galaxy's most arrogant warriors didn't sound so confident. Diaz crouched lower behind the rubble, shielding his face from flying debris. "They're panicking," he said. "They've got no idea where it came from." "They will," Cole murmured. "But not soon enough." He shifted position, crawling a few feet through the dust to a new vantage point. The barrel of his rifle glinted for an instant before vanishing into shadow. Through a scope, the alien camp was chaos. Officers shouting, drones scanning, shields flickering as their energy fields recalibrated. At the center of it all, two remaining generals barked orders, their voices thick with rage. General Tolinar had taken command, his scaled hands gesturing furiously toward the perimeter. "Find the human," he bellowed, his voice echoing through every alien comm channel. "No primitive marksman breaches our shield. Track the shot vector. Deploy the drones." Cole could see him perfectly, standing near an armored transport, shield generators glowing faintly behind him. The creature's arrogance had curdled into anger, and that anger made him sloppy. Diaz tapped the side of his helmet. "They've got orbital scanning now. We got about 5 minutes before we're fried." Cole adjusted the rifle slightly. "We won't need 5. He studied the scope again, measuring the distance and wind. The planet's air was thin, so the bullet would carry further than on Earth. The challenge wasn't distance. It was timing. Each shield generator emitted a faint pulse, flickering for less than a second between energy cycles. That flicker was his window. Diaz watched the shifting blue glow. "You're not serious." Cole's tone didn't change. "You keep thinking that." The aliens began launching drones, sleek, insect-like machines that scoured the battlefield with beams of white light. Cole moved only when the beams turned away. He exhaled, counted the rhythm of the pulses, and pressed the trigger. The Barrett roared again. The recoil hit his shoulder like a hammer, and the shock wave cracked through the still air. For half a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then the armored carrier's viewport exploded. Shards of reinforced crystal bursting outward as Toliar vanished in a flash of fire and plasma. The carrier's core detonated seconds later, sending alien bodies tumbling through the air like leaves caught in a storm. Diaz let out a low whistle. 2 shots. 2 dead generals. You know what that means. Cole ejected the smoking shell casing. They'll stop laughing. The alien camp dissolved into full-blown panic. Troops began firing in every direction. Command officers screamed orders, their formation crumbling. From above, the drones swarmed tighter, scanning heat signatures, sonic vibrations, anything that could reveal the human sniper. A voice thundered across the alien frequency. "Vrax, the last surviving general. Enough of this mockery. Seal the perimeter. Burn the ruins if you must." His rage was palpable, his pride wounded beyond repair. The humans defy extinction again. Let them vanish for good this time. Cole and Diaz ducked as plasma bolts scorched the rubble around them. Dust rained from the cracked ceiling of their shelter. Diaz winced, clutching a fresh burn on his forearm. "We need to move. They're narrowing it down." "Not yet," Cole said. His voice was quiet, but every word carried the weight of decision. "He's still breathing." "Who?" "Vrax." Cole nodded, eyes never leaving the scope. Through the smoke, he caught a glimpse of the general near the command shuttle. Vrax's armor glowed with embedded shields, multiple layers of defense overlapping like scales of light. He barked into his comlink, his voice trembling with fury. The soldiers around him were setting up mobile cannons, their barrels trained toward the ruins. Diaz looked at Cole, disbelief written across his soot-covered face. "You're thinking of taking that shot?" Cole began packing his gear methodically. "No, I'm planning for it." A deafening blast tore through the building as plasma artillery hit nearby. The impact threw them both to the ground. Cole's ears rang. Dust filled his lungs. He pulled Diaz to his feet, his grip iron steady. "We move north," he said, voice hoarse but unwavering. "We'll flank him from the ridge." They slipped through the ruins like shadows, staying low, moving when the drones passed overhead. The ground was uneven, littered with melted metal and the bones of the fallen. The air shimmered with heat from recent strikes. Cole's steps were silent despite the chaos around them. Diaz breathed hard, struggling to keep pace. "You ever think maybe we're just prolonging the inevitable?" Cole's reply came after a long pause. "Maybe, but they should remember what the inevitable feels like." They reached the ridge overlooking the alien camp. From here, the scene looked almost surreal. Lines of soldiers moving in confusion, drones slicing the air, the alien shuttle gleaming under the twin suns. Vrax stood beside it, shouting into his comlink, his armor flickering under multiple energy layers. Cole settled his rifle again, using a fallen beam as a brace. He adjusted the scope, compensating for the rising wind. Diaz crouched beside him, scanning the area. "They're closing in. 3 drones heading our way. Once you take the shot, we'll have seconds to move." Cole's focus narrowed to a pinpoint. "Then I'll make it worth the chase." The hum of engines and the pulse of shields filled his ears. He could see Vrax's face of the scope now, those reptilian eyes burning with arrogance and fury. Cole steadied his breathing, aligning the crosshairs just above the alien's chest. He squeezed the trigger halfway, waiting for the shield cycle to drop. Then, just as he was about to fire, a plasma beam hit the ridge. The explosion knocked both men backward, dirt and rock cascading over them. Cole's rifle tumbled down the slope, clattering against the rocks below. The blast had missed him by meters, but the shock wave left his ears ringing. Diaz groaned beside him, blood trickling down his temple. Cole crawled toward the fallen rifle, dragging it back by the strap. Drone zipped overhead now, beam sweeping dangerously close. He aimed again, heart pounding, but the shot was no longer clean. The general was retreating toward the shuttle, shield drones forming a barrier around him. Diaz coughed, voice strained. "We've lost the angle." Cole's eyes stayed locked on the target. Not lost, just postponed. For the first time since the battle began, he pulled back from the scope. The alien camp was alive with motion, their anger and fear mixing into a single frenzy. The general's mockery was gone, replaced by something closer to terror. The myth of human weakness had been broken. As he and Diaz retreated into the shadows, the alien broadcast changed tone, no longer mocking but alarmed. Reports of a surviving Earth sniper spread through every channel. Orders barked in panic, echoed across the planet. The Dominion had finally realized that the war they thought they'd won wasn't over. Cole slung the rifle over his shoulder, glancing once more at the distant shuttle. "They'll come harder next time," Diaz muttered. Cole nodded. "Good. That means they're scared." The two men disappeared into the smoke-choked ruins, the sound of alien searchlights sweeping closer behind them. And somewhere above the battlefield, on the bruised sky of Dvar 9, the echo of a single rifle shot still lingered, reminding the galaxy that humanity hadn't vanished. Not yet. The fires of Dvar 9 had burned through the night, leaving the air heavy with ash and silence. The alien stronghold that once blazed with arrogance now lay in ruin, its banners torn, its commanders gone. Cole and Diaz moved through the wreckage slowly, their figures outlined by the dim light of burning wrecks. Diaz leaned against Cole, each step labored, blood still seeping through his bandaged arm. "You really think that shot took him out?" Diaz asked, voice barely more than a rasp. Cole's eyes remained fixed on the smoldering horizon. "There's no coming back from that kind of hit," he said. "Vrax is done." He spoke with certainty, but in his chest, something deeper lingered, a fatigue not of the body but of the soul. He'd made the shot that legends were built on, yet the silence afterward felt like standing at the edge of extinction. Humanity had won a moment, but the galaxy was still vast, and their enemies were endless. The evac drone arrived an hour later, its descent stirring waves of dust around them. Cole helped Diaz aboard, then paused at the hatch, looking back one last time. The alien base was a graveyard now. Plasma fires hissed, casting long shadows over plains where once stood an empire that mocked humankind. Now, all that remained was the echo of a single rifle shot and the memory of a defiant soldier who refused to bow. Inside the drone, Diaz rested his head back, eyes half closed. "You think anyone will hear about this?" he murmured. Cole adjusted the drone's flight path toward orbit. "They'll hear," he said quietly. "They always do." The drone lifted, slicing through the night. Below, the surface of Dvar 9 faded into darkness, swallowed by its own smoke. In orbit, the Dominion fleet was retreating, broken and confused. Their comms were filled with panic chatter, warnings of a human sniper capable of piercing their shields. Fear was spreading faster than any bullet could travel. Cole sat beside the viewport, his rifle across his knees. The metal was scorched, the barrel still faintly warm. He ran a gloved hand along the weapon's frame, an old, battered Earth design that had outlasted entire civilizations. A tool of extinction in the hands of the last survivor. He whispered almost to himself, "You did good, girl." Diaz stirred. "You talking to the rifle again?" Cole allowed a faint grin. "She listens better than most generals." They shared a quiet laugh, small but real, the first in what felt like years. The moment was brief. Peace never lasted long in this galaxy. The drone's radar flickered, detecting faint signals from other resistance outposts. Human distress codes. Survivors. Cole leaned forward, watching the blips form a constellation of hope across the screen. "We're not alone," he said softly. Diaz blinked, forcing a smile. "Guess we just rang the dinner bell for the whole damn species." Cole looked out the window again. The planet was shrinking behind them, a red scar against the void. "Let them come," he said. "We'll be ready." As the drone cleared the atmosphere, the comlink crackled to life, Encrypted human voices, distant but alive. Words of disbelief. Celebrations. The destruction of the alien command center had been seen from orbit. The galaxy was already talking about the ghost sniper of Dvar 9. Some said he wasn't human at all. Others claimed he was the last soldier of Earth, risen from extinction to strike vengeance on the Dominion. Cole didn't correct them. Legends had a way of working better than truth. He reached into his pack and retrieved one last .50 BMG round, unfired, clean, shining faintly in the dim light. He rolled it between his fingers before placing it back in the ammo case. "There's always one left," he murmured. "For next time." The drone's engines roared as it entered jump range. Below, the dying planet faded into starlight. Somewhere beyond those stars, the Dominion would regroup. They would rebuild. They would swear revenge. But tonight, the galaxy was quiet. Tonight, one man had reminded them why humanity was never meant to be underestimated. As the stars stretched into lines and the jump drive ignited, Cole leaned back in his seat. His eyes closed for the first time in days, though his hand still rested on the rifle. The sound of the ship's engine merged with a faint echo of a single gunshot, a memory that refused to fade. And in that silence, carried across the endless dark, a message lingered. "Mock us if you dare. We aim last." The drone vanished into the stars, leaving behind a broken world and the birth of legend.